Verse 18 in John chapter 2. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, What sign showest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? Verse 19. Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Verse 20. Then said the Jews, pay attention to this part, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? Verse 21. But he spake of the temple of his body. Herod the Great began rebuilding the second temple. Now, this is the temple that the Jews were talking about. Herod the Great began rebuilding the second temple in Jerusalem around 20 BCE or 19 BCE. Remember, they just said it took us 46 years to Jesus to build this temple, and that began in 20 BC or 19 BCE. All right, we're going to do some simple mathematics. It's called addition. You might hear the fish tank in the background, but that's just my fish tank. So we start here. Said that Herod began the building of the temple at 20 BC, 20 BCE, or 19 BCE. And we go all the way. And how far do we go? Okay. Well, the Jews said it took them 46 years to build the temple. So you start from 20 or 19 BC and you go forward 46 years. That's when they spoke to Jesus. So this would be in the middle, would be 0. There's no real 0 on a biblical calendar, but it doesn't matter. We're using it as a marker. So we start, I'll give the year to people who think it's 32 AD. I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's 19 BC that this temple began to build. Okay, so we'll start from 19 BC. We'll go forward 46 years, and that takes us to 27 AD. Okay, so that's the 46 years. They talked to Jesus at 27 AD. I'm giving you guys the extra year, okay? Now, Jesus' ministry was 3.5 years. Nobody believes that it was more than 3.5 years. Some people believe that it was less, but you'll never, ever, ever, ever find anything that says Jesus' ministry was more than 3.5 years. And it was 3.5 years. So if you start from 27 AD and go 3.5 years forward, you get 27, 28, 29, that's 3 years, and then half of 30. So 3.5 years forward, Jesus' ministry takes you to 30 AD. Just by this simple math, it proves that it's absolutely impossible for Christ's crucifixion to be in 32 AD, which means that Jesus is not coming back in 2032 AD, which is exactly 2,000 years. He's coming back in 2029 AD, because it actually started in 20 BC. But I'll just give the benefit of the doubt. The latest that Jesus could come back is 30 AD. I meant to say 2030 AD. It's just simple math. It's impossible for a 32 AD crucifixion. Now let me go over it one more time. The Jews spoke to Jesus and said it took us 46 years to build this temple. Well, we know that the temple Herod began building it in 20 or 19 BCE. I gave you guys the extra year, so we'll say it's 19 BCE. You go 46 years forward, come to 27 AD. 3.5 years forward from 27 AD is 30, in the middle of 30 AD. It's absolutely impossible to get to 32 AD just by the simple math. Now the truth is that temple began in 20 BC. And you go 46 years forward, you come to 26 AD. It's actually a year back. But I gave you guys, just for the example, the extra year. But it was 20 BC. And the pattern to see is this. What is God telling us with the temple being started in 20 BCE and then Jesus speaking to the Jews in 26 AD? Well, he's showing us 2026 because exactly 2,000 years from 26 AD forward is 2026 AD. And that's when the last 3.5 years begins. It begins exactly 2,000 years from when the first 3.5 years began with Jesus' ministry in 26 AD. So if you put it together, 20 BCE, 46 years later is 26 AD. Put it together, you have 2026. Exactly 2,000 years forward from 26 AD. That's the pattern that God is showing us. But again, I gave the extra year, so it takes you to 30. Either way, it's impossible to get to 32 AD. It's impossible that Jesus is going to come back in 2032 AD. Because the crucifixion, it doesn't. This is it. You can't do it. It's impossible. The mathematics show 32 AD crucifixion is absolutely impossible. And so, with this truth, it is also impossible that there is a 7-year Great Tribulation or wrath period. It's impossible. Because we don't go past 30 AD. But he comes back in 29. So you don't have your 7-year Great Tribulation or wrath, whatever you want to call it. Because it's not going to 2032. It's not going to 2031. It's going to 2029. So that's just the math. That's just the facts. You can do what you want with it. You can cry about it. You can say it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, this is correct. And whoever's preaching a 2032 AD return of Christ is incorrect. Whoever's preaching a 32 AD crucifixion of Christ is incorrect. According to the Bible and according to history. It's just facts.